Good evening, everyone. Give us one more second. I'm sorry. Okay, she's in the meeting. I'm going to get started.
Yep.
Okay. Good evening. I am Board Chair Johnette Richardson. I would like to welcome you all to the June 13th public board meeting of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners. If you are online with us and have not done so, please mute your phone. Anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from the call. Additionally, if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff, please turn your video off. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who's either online with us or here with us in person. Please identify yourself first before speaking for the record. I will go through this same roll call for each vote. Commissioner McFadden.
Fadden, present.
Commissioner Brooks. Commissioner Coy.
Present.
Commissioner Esposito.
Present.
Commissioner Griffin.
Here.
I miss your voice. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Kenyatta Bay present.
Thank you. Commissioner Reed.
Present.
Commissioner Roberts.
Here.
Commissioner Sally.
Present.
Commissioner Slater Harrington. And I am here. That makes us 9 present with 2 absent. Is there a motion to reopen the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner McFadden. Is there a second?
Second, Bay.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I am in favor. That motion passes with 9 in favor and 2 absent. Let's all please stand for the presentations of color.
Forward, march. Shoulder, hold. Left, face. Present, arms. Ma'am, Cadet Command Sergeant Major Castillo, Baltimore City, Jersey, will grant permission to post scholarship.
Permission granted.
Thank you, ma'am. Happy birthday to our United States Army. Order, arms. Pose reverse, march. Hold. Present, arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Post. Colors, cut.
I want to thank the JROTC from Army Programs. We had Cadet Command Sergeant Major Jeremy Castillo, Commander Carver Vocational Technical High School. We had Cadet Major Iara Marks, U.S. Flag, New Era Academy. We had Cadet Second Lieutenant Evelyn Anzurez, please forgive me if I've mispronounced that, from the Reach Partnership High School. Cadet Captain Eric Lloyd, Rifle, Frederick Douglass High School, and Cadet Sergeant First Class Nelson Cooper White, Rifle, from Carver Vocational Technical High School. Let's give them another hand. Now I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Kenyatta Bay for our moment of silence.
I would like to take the time to recognize the passing of City School students. They will be remembered fondly by the greater City Schools community. Tonight, we send our deepest condolences to their friends and families. Azaria Hebron was an amazing bright spot in the 9th grade class here at Baltimore City College. She was smart, funny, dedicated, and well-liked by everyone in the class of 2026. Although she was in pain many days, Azaria was unfailingly upbeat and positive, the sort of person who would literally brighten the day. She loved City College and thrived in English, Spanish, and history. Her spirit pervaded her approach to academics and helped enhance the classroom experience for all. This young woman was a self-starter and met any challenge head on. She had a strong sense of purpose and a striking precision of thought. Her work ethic was without fail that of a person well beyond her years. Her sparkle will be sorely missed on our campus. Sierra Payton was a third grader at Bel Air Edison School. Sierra was such a beautiful, smart, and loving child with a bright, energetic spirit. Over the years, Sierra has received several awards for school, including Perfect Attendance, Student of the Month, and Honor Roll. She was always known to be the life of the party with her enthusiasm for fun and adventure. Sierra had wonderful creativity, which showed in her drawing skills. She also loved making TikTok videos and taking pictures. Sierra's passion for fashion was evident in her style, as she always liked dressing herself and fixing her hair in all the latest trends. Let us take a moment to remember these students. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a motion to approve the prior open session minutes?
So moved, Roberts.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second?
Second, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito? Yes. Commissioner Griffin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay? Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I am in favor. That motion passes with 9 in favor and 2 absent. Is there a motion to approve the closed session summaries?
So moved, Roberts.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second?
Second, Sally.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yeah.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito? Yes. Commissioner Griffin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I am in favor. That motion also passes with 9 in favor and 2 absent. So hello again, everyone, and welcome again to the June 13th board meeting. I'm really happy to see everyone here tonight. June is Pride Month, a time for us to acknowledge and celebrate the amazing contributions and equal rights milestones made by our queer community. I want to give a special shout out to our LGBTQ+ students, staff, and families. Thank you for your bravery, resilience, and inclusivity. Tonight, as our staff gets ready, I am excited to announce that we are honoring our final Baltimore City Public Schools Scholar Superstar awardees for 22-23 academic year. Before I call them forward, I want to thank Lashana on our staff. This was a brainchild of our communication specialist and is one of the most amazing things we've done this year. So thank you so much for your creativity and innovation. Lashana also just graduated with her master's degree. We are incredibly proud of you. As you know, the board has honored 2 students each month for various grade levels for their excellence and exceptional contributions in a segment called Scholar Superstar. Last time we honored two extraordinary students, Final Coulter and Taiwan Hughes. This time, we have two new awardees from two different city schools. Our first winner is Kumura Burke. Kumura is an 8th grader at Montebello Elementary Middle School. Kumura is the committed captain of the Montebello Golden Steppers step team. She helps students grow and nurture their love of art, dance, music, self-love, confidence, community, and relationships through STEP. But Kumura is not just the star outside of the classroom. She is the SGA president and a member of the National Student Honors Society, all while maintaining grades worthy of placing her on the honor roll. Kumura embodies every characteristic of a leader. It is my pleasure to invite Kumura's family, and our Montebello Elementary Middle School staff to join us as we honor her in accepting the Scholar Superstar Award. Kumura, if you would like to say a few words, you can. So is she here? So Kumura, how do you do all that you do?
I would like to say it's genes.
Right.
So I have a few words, made a little speech.
Very good.
Just to thank the school board for being, for nominating me. So thank you for the reward of the Scholar Superstar. I am proud and happy to be here. My goal is to become successful in my life, and this reward is making my dreams come true. I want to thank my teacher, Miss Anini, for nominating me. And I want to thank my family for making me who I am today. I am so grateful and honored to receive this award. This reward opens up more doors to my future and excels me for greatness. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see now why you were nominated. Thank you so much. Mom, Dad, you want to share some words?
Ain't nothing big. This is the first time I've heard about this award, so by it being the first time, I'm glad my daughter is on this list.
It's my baby. That's all I can say.
So we do have an actual award, and if you wouldn't mind joining us, we want to take a picture together. Our second winner is Tamia Vaughn. Tamia is an 11th grader at Mergenthaler Vocational Technical High School. Tamia is an amazing leader in the classroom, collaborating with her peers for group projects and taking initiative to improve everyone's performance and understanding of the task at hand. She is currently the SGA Vice President and a key player on the volleyball team. Tamia aspires to be a medical doctor and take her love of helping others to another level. It is now my pleasure to invite Tamia, Tamia's family, and our Mervo staff to join us up front as we award the Scholar Superstar to Tamia. And Tamia, if you want to share words. You can.
I just want to say thank you for accepting me and giving me this reward. And I want to thank Mr. Kane for nominating me because it was so random and unexpected. I was not expecting to even be nominated for something like this. But I just want to say thank you, Mr. Kane, for seeing potential in me and thinking I could win something like this.
So who do we have with us tonight?
Godmother.
Okay, you want to share some words?
I just want to say I'm just super proud of Tamia because if you know Tamia, how much she's been through, what she's been through to be 17 and to like be able to come and get this award, it just means a lot. It really does. And I know it helps her with her potential, and to realize that what she's doing speaks volumes for what she's come from. So just proud of her.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And are you guys staff? Okay, you want to share anything?
Tamia is definitely one of the smartest students I've ever had the pleasure of working with here for the last 6 years in Baltimore City Public Schools. Her potential is limitless. She's very resilient. She gets everything done no matter what, even on days that she's absent, and she has a bright future ahead of her for sure.
Just want to say thank you for everybody who came up with this idea to have this award and recognizing our students for all the great things that they are accomplishing. Oftentimes, our kids are not getting the credit that they deserve for all the great things that they're doing. So to me, it's definitely an example of the greatness that our Baltimore City School students possess. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here. We want you to come up as well so we can take a picture.
Okay, so it's no feedback.
Tamia, where are you thinking about going to college? Okay. Nice. And there are some nice HBCUs in Maryland too that you can consider. Absolutely. Congratulations.
Morgan State is an amazing university.
It absolutely is.
And they produce amazing professionals.
They absolutely do.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you all again. The board would like to now take a few moments to acknowledge and show our appreciation for Commissioner Atira Griffin. Tonight is her last official public board meeting as a member of the school board. Commissioner Griffin is just an overall amazing person to be around. She is caring, charismatic, and never strays away from a challenge. You can imagine the same reasons we love her as a person are some of the same reasons that have made her such a great commissioner. Her fighter spirit is unwavering when it comes to advocacy for our youth. She pushes us all to look at things through the perspective of our young people and has dedicated her life's work to making Baltimore a safer and productive space for them. It has been an absolute delight to work with her. She has inspired the board to work with intent and selflessness. Her dedication to the betterment of Baltimore schools and the well-being of its students is admirable. We thank you and will truly miss you. I want to open up this opportunity, Commissioner Griffin, for you to say a few words. And then after she's done, I'd like for her fellow board commissioners and our CEO, if you all have anything to share to her, we'll give you that opportunity. Commissioner Griffin?
Oh, that was so sweet. Thank you so much for the kind words. And it really has been a true learning experience, a growing experience, something special. My little one in the background to serve on the board. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you all for your support, for your learnings. That is my baby, y'all. I had a baby. People are like, why is she leaving the board? I had a baby and I want to focus my time with her. She is 2 months old as of June 10th, so she's a little one. But I'm really grateful to have this opportunity because it's taught me a lot about leadership. It's taught me a lot about working together and collaborative leadership and what that looks like. And how to understand that we all come from different walks of life and have different experiences. And no matter what, everyone in that room there is there for our children and for our youth. And I've just enjoyed getting to know each person as much as I've had the time to do so. I want to say thank you to everybody who talked to me, who sat on the phone with me to talk through when we saw eye to eye, when we didn't see eye to eye. The time that I got to spend touring schools with folks and just learning more about not only perspectives, but where you come from in life. Each and every one of you have touched me in a different way, and I've learned something from everybody on the board that I've had a chance to spend some time with. So I'm really leaving with a lot of gratitude. Feeling very good about where the board is headed. I'm excited to see what y'all going to do as time continues to move forward and how the district is continuing to just meet the challenges that you all are facing in very different times in the learning environment. So I just want to say thank you. And, I'm still here, but I'm a little bit of a stone's throw away, as they like to say down south.
Thank you so much. Commissioners?
Tara, thank you for the short time we spent together. You left a great impression and an imprint. I appreciated your academic approach in terms of how you saw things from a school level. But you're making a great decision. If I had to make a decision between raising a great kid or sitting in a chair and a board, I'd go with the great kid. So good luck to you.
Thank you, Vernon.
Commissioner Griffin, I wanted to say thank you so much. As I stepped onto the board, you were one of the very first people I talked to, even as I was thinking about, like, how do I transition onto the board and step up to the role of leadership? And so with that guidance and support and that mentoring has helped me to get on the path here in my leadership. And so it's not lost on me in the time you've taken to groom me over our short time together as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for setting a high standard and also being supportive of women in leadership and even me on my journey to be here. I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to work with you more, but yeah, thank you for your service and congrats on the baby.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tara Griffin, thank you so much for being an incredible human being. Just the light that you brought to our space helped to balance our perspective in many cases. It's been a pleasure working with you. It's been a pleasure knowing that you served the city as a teacher at Bliss, and you did some work there with those young women. So just thank you. Thank you for all of what you've done. Thank you what you will continue to do. You are still a member of this community. You serve on other boards with other organizations. So your impact will continue to be great. So just thank you for the time that you've spent here with us to broaden our perspectives, right? As you mentioned, with our young people, and with staff members, you brought a lot of perspectives. And yes, you did push, and that's what it's supposed to happen, right? We're supposed to, come to a place where we bring those differences together, right? To work out what is in the best interest of our young people at the end of the day, what's in their best interest. And you help to keep that at the forefront of all of our decisions. So thank you. And with that, Dr. Santelises has some remarks for you.
Hello, Commissioner Griffin. I just want to say thank you for modeling the collaborative leadership that I know Chair Richardson referenced. One of the things I always appreciated about you, and still do, is the way that I can pick up the phone and hear your perspective and the nuance and the thoughtfulness and the reflection. The fact that you always could ground your questions in the reality of schools and in the impact on community. You weren't somebody who just kind of blathered words at a meeting. You backed it up with the hard work. I remember when some people ask questions just for the sake of asking questions. When you asked about the resource mapping, I'll never forget that. You were like, oh no, I wasn't just asking that question. And I wasn't just trying, you dug in with us and you understood, you took the time to learn the process. And as Commissioner McFadden was referencing, I think you made us better for it. We accelerated that work because of the way you asked the questions and because of the way that you showed up. So I am thrilled that you are still in Baltimore City as a mom girl, as a girl mom. Nothing better in my mind. And so we will miss you, but know that you're really close. But I appreciate just the integrity of your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Proclamation of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners. Whereas Atira Griffin served with distinction on the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners from 2021 to 2023 as a member of the Teaching and Learning Committee, and chair of the Policy Committee. And whereas Atira Griffin was an educator and administrator at the Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women, while also creating leadership training for adults in Baltimore and across the nation. And whereas Atira Griffin was awarded the 2019 Echoing Green Fellowship and the 2020 Open Society Fellowship in recognition of her leadership of building our nation's Daughters, Inc. And whereas Atira Griffin has performed outstanding service to the students and staff of Baltimore City Public Schools and the City of Baltimore. Now, therefore, the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners does hereby proclaim our thanks and best wishes to Atira Griffin in grateful recognition of her dedicated service to the young people and families of Baltimore City. Signed, Johnette A. Richardson, Chair of the Board of School Commissioners, and Sonia B. Santelises, Chief Executive Officer, acknowledged on this 13th day of June, 2023. From the City of Baltimore, Certificate of Recognition. On behalf of the citizens of Baltimore, I am pleased to present this certificate to Atira Griffin in recognition of your dedicated service as Commissioner on the Baltimore City Public Schools Board of School Commissioners. On behalf of the people of Baltimore, I offer my sincerest thanks for your service and wish you the best in your future endeavors. Congratulations, and that is from our Mayor, Brandon Scott. Congratulations, Atira.
Thank you all.
These are coming to you.
Okay.
So like Commissioner Griffin, tonight is also my last official public board meeting for my term as chair of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners will end this month. 2 years ago, when I was voted by my peers to be the chair, I grounded my leadership in Theodore Roosevelt's Man in the Arena quote. It states, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." So what is the arena for us? Our arena on this board is the fight we fight for the education of our young people. And yes, the critics are out there. There are cold and timid souls who leap at the chance to criticize the decisions we have made as a collective body. Have we always gotten everything right? No, we haven't. We have stumbled along the way. But I can say with certainty that this is the body that during a pandemic fought to keep our young people safely back in schools when those same cold and timid souls said it was too soon. This is the body that ensured every one of our students who needed devices and hotspots got them. This is the body that supported reconnecting, restoring, and reimagining our education delivery. Instead of keeping kids back, we tutored them. Instead of crossing our fingers and hoping our young people and their families could figure out plans for return to school, we ensured that each one of them had their own individualized plans to ensure their success. This is the board that made the tough decisions on closing school buildings. Despite the outcry, we understood that young people are more likely to thrive in a well-resourced building that offers a fuller educational experience than in a small school operating in a crumbling facility that at times was patched with duct tape. Our young people deserve more. This board established relationships with instructional leaders and adopted networks so that we might better understand the day-to-day mechanics and operations of a myriad of schools and school types. After all, how can you make a decision from this seat if you haven't been in a school building, if you haven't talked to a principal, if you haven't talked to teachers and other professionals that undergird this fight in the arena? We are moms and dads. We are educators and policy professionals. We are entrepreneurs and corporate executives. We are elected and appointed. And it is from all of those seats that we show up for this work every single day. It has been my great honor to serve as chair and work with each and every one of you. Dr. Santelises, it has also been an honor to serve alongside you, as I know the desires of your heart for the young people of Baltimore City. And every proposal that you have brought before this board has come from a place of love and devotion for those young people. To our board office staff, Tanisha, Dawana, and Jess, you are all such incredible professionals and a dynamic team. I have thoroughly enjoyed working closely with each of you. To Lashana, our communications specialist, your star is rising. You are an extraordinary human. I have watched you grow in your role. It has been tremendous. I am cheering you on as you continue the important work of assisting the communications of our board and thinking up amazing ideas to get the word out to the community about the work that we do. Lastly, to my vice chair, you already know, I adore you. I adore you. We started this journey together, and I don't know if you remember the Cole Buildings meeting.
I do. It was our first.
That was our very first meeting. And that's when we learned how very big this work is, right? I have learned so much from you. You have been a solid rock for me. And I am so grateful for all of your support through the years, but especially these past two. I could not have asked for a better partner. Thank you. Okay. Whew. I got through that without. Okay, the board acknowledges a donation of $10,000 from Southway Builders to Falstaff Elementary Middle School
Chair Richardson,
for, yes.
are you going to let anybody say anything to you?
Y'all saw me trying to just move on, right? Okay, yes, you may.
No, I'll start off, but I'll be short to let others say a few things, knowing that there is a lot on the agenda. But thank you for entertaining all of the questions. I know for my first, even before my first meeting, lots of questions as I try to understand and dig deep into the work. But thank you.
I'd like to say that, just showing up here, you have exhibited so much grace, and grace is the key. Being able to be grateful and caring, to reach out to somebody and to people who are coming to an understanding of your caring. I have appreciated this because, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance in this, but I'm a man of circumstance, not so much pomp. And the circumstances that you bring forward have always been caring and in your heart, and I appreciate that.
Best wishes to you and your family. It's been fun working with you. Thanks for putting up with me and being a friend. Thank you.
You've just played an outsized role in shaping the district and the board. And, I always think in everything I do, what role do we play in terms of like helping to shape the role of young people? And every single conversation I've had with you, that comes ringing true each and every time. And that reminds me of like, what are we doing? How are we doing it? How we need to be thoughtful. And I see that in your leadership each and every day that you show up here. And the work that you do behind the scenes to keep the board as a cohesive unit, to encourage conversation, to help us grow. And I'm deeply appreciative of that. And we'll take that forward from your legacy that you're leaving behind. So thank you.
Chair Richardson, I think I would only add, we've had 100 million conversations about 100 million different things that we've encountered as a board. And I feel like we always end each call with whether, we're oil and vinegar, what do we make? We make sandwiches and we feed kids. Thank you for feeding kids.
Commissioner Griffin.
Chair Richardson, I just want to say thank you a million times. Thank you for your exemplary leadership. You truly have modeled to me how much I hope to continue to grow as a leader. Thank you for instilling our Adopt-A network. Thank you for starting the Grateful Moments, like different pieces that a lot of folks may not get to see that you did. And your leadership is a quiet strength, a grateful strength. And I truly just appreciate you. So I'll save the rest for a phone call. Thanks.
We are going to have some more time to celebrate you. I can't imagine serving on the board without you, Johnette. So I'm not going to spend too much time right now. But as everyone said, you are one of the most collaborative and thoughtful people that I've worked with. One thing that you remind us, is that we're volunteers, but the way you approach this work as a volunteer, you're all in. You're all in. You dig deep and you're all in to keep the board together, to make decisions that are right for our children in the face of adversities, right? In the face of the next thing that's going to happen, right? Because something is always going to happen that we're going to have to face and tackle. I just appreciate your strength. I appreciate your thoughtfulness as a Black woman in leadership in this city. That is not something easy to do. And so I admire your grace, I admire your strength, and I admire your friendship, and we'll save the rest for later. Thank you, Johnette.
So, there's so much to say, but I will just say that one of the biggest blessings that I have received in this role has been in total just amazing board chairs. And what's so amazing is the right board chair at the right moment. And you, Chair Johnette Richardson, oh my God, you are the right board chair for the right moment. I thank you for letting me be authentically who I am, for pushing me, for growing me, for taking the calls when I was like, yeah, this is done, right? And I got to tell you, you know how to support and push and then say, like the poem you quoted, it's time to get back to work. And you are always working for kids. Your center is always clear. You are able to discern the fluff from the real. And you're just savvy of leadership and knowing people is your superpower. Like you understand people and how to reach them and how to connect them in ways that not a lot of people do. And so it has been an absolute privilege to be able to say that you are our leader. And I thank you. I know there were days you left your family to take my call. You stepped out of meetings. I never had to worry that I wouldn't be able to get you. And I always have made better decisions, even if they weren't perfect. And even if in the end, some of them weren't great in the result. I always made better decisions because of you. And you are, and I agree with Commissioner McFadden, just an amazing Black woman who is real, who majors in the real, and who exemplifies excellence. Like it's one thing to be a Black woman, it's another thing to be a Black woman of excellence. And I appreciate you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. The board acknowledges a donation of $10,000 from Southway Builders to Falstaff Elementary Middle School for improvements to buildings and facilities. The board acknowledges a donation of $22,214.50, don't leave that out, from a parent fundraiser through Fund Hub / Get Moving fundraiser to Medfield Heights Elementary School for the purchase of new iPad and Chromebook carts, STEAM materials, sustainability materials, books, and school supplies. The board also acknowledges non-monetary donation valued at $100,000 from the Roland Park Elementary School Annual Fund for improvement to buildings and facilities. Okay. Is there a motion to approve how do I do this? Because I need to pull this. Okay. All right. So we're going to pull that.
3.02. We can still move to 3.0.
Oh, okay. So we can still do 3.01. Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the PEP and quasi judicial matter?
No, just the PEP.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve the PEP?
So move.
Got it. I got it.
McFadden.
Thank you, Commissioner McFadden. Thank you, Commissioner Reed. All in favor, Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I'm in favor. That motion passes with 9 in favor and 2 absent. I want to now turn it over to Dr. Santelises for. Oh, I just had to pull them apart. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll do this again. Is there a motion to approve 3.02 appeals and hearing?
So move, McFadden.
Thank you, Commissioner McFadden. Is there a second?
Second read.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Abstain.
Okay. Commissioner Griffin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
No.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner, oh, and I am in favor. This motion passes with 7 in favor, 1 abstention, and 1 opposed. Now I'll turn it over to Dr. Santelises for CEO comment.
Thank you, Chair Richardson. I will now invite Chief Emily Nielsen for this evening's PEP agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. Good evening, board members. This is a long one. On tonight's PEP agenda from the Office of the Chief Academic Officer, an appointment recommended that Katie Ketterer, currently teacher secondary at Roland Park Elementary Middle, be appointed Educational Specialist 2, Health and Physical Education, effective July 3rd, 2023. Recommended that Marjorie Rathgaber, currently teacher elementary at Moravia Park Elementary Middle, be appointed Educational Specialist 2, Elementary Mathematics.
Apple thing.
Yeah, there's someone on Teams that needs to mute. Thank you. Thank you.
And I suppose I should also share that if a staff member being PEP'd is present, either in person or on Teams, please let us know so that we can share in congratulating you. Continuing on with the appointments, recommended that Crystal Francis, currently Director Early Learning, be appointed Executive Director of Early Learning effective July 3rd, 2023. Recommended that Daniel Murphy, currently Educational Associate 10-month at Fort Worthington EMS, be appointed Educational Specialist 2, Math Continuous Improvement effective July 3rd, 2023. Recommended that Edmund Mitzel, currently retired Executive Director, Maryland State Department of Education, be appointed Educational Specialist 2, Secondary Science, effective July 10th, 2023. From the Office of the Chief Executive Officer, an appointment recommended that Benjamin Roberts, currently Principal Franklin Square Elementary Middle, be appointed Senior Principal Coach, Principal Leadership Development, effective July 3rd, 2023. Recommended that from the Office of the Chief Financial Officer, an appointment recommended that DBL Foster, currently Analyst, Third-Party Billing, Monitoring, and School Support, be appointed Coordinator, Third-Party Billing, effective June 14th, 2023. From the Office of the Chief Operating Officer, an appointment recommended that Jenna Adams, currently Teacher Secondary at Patterson Park Public Charter Elementary Middle, be appointed Educational Specialist 2, Academics, 21st Century Buildings Office, effective July 3rd, 2023. From the Office of the Chief of Schools, an appointment recommended that Christina Pollock, currently Educational Associate 10-month at Glenmount Elementary Middle, be appointed Assistant Principal at Glenmount Elementary Middle, effective July 3rd, 2023. Recommended that Deanna Wagner, currently Educational Associate 10-month at Leith Walk Elementary, be appointed Assistant Principal at Leith Walk Elementary. Recommended that Hillary Kolodner, currently course designer and community of practice facilitator at UC Berkeley Principal Leadership Institute, be appointed assistant principal at Mary G. Faring Elementary Middle effective July 3rd, 2023. Recommended that Benjamin Blackburn, currently teacher secondary at Dickey Hill Elementary Middle, be appointed assistant principal at Windsor Hills Elementary Middle effective July 3rd, 2023. Recommended that Jason Venezio Wallerstein, currently library media specialist at Francis Scott Key Elementary Middle, be appointed assistant principal at Francis Scott Key Elementary Middle effective July 3rd, 2023. Recommended that Richard Stasio, currently teacher secondary at Career Academy, be appointed assistant principal at Reginald F. Lewis High School effective July 3rd, 2023. Recommended that Tamira Butts Grandy, currently assistant administrator, Anne Arundel County Public Schools, be appointed assistant principal, Grace Linda Donnell Heights Elementary Middle, effective July 3rd, 2023. Recommended that Shalonda Howes, currently principal resident, Hartford Heights Elementary, be appointed assistant principal, John Rohra Elementary Middle, effective July 3rd, 2023. An interim appointment, recommended that Kathy Chiavacci, currently assistant principal at Medfield Heights Elementary, be appointed interim principal at Medfield Heights Elementary, effective July 3rd, 2023. And a reassignment, recommended that Sarah Long, currently principal of the Mount Washington School, be reassigned assistant principal, Charles Carroll Barrister Elementary, effective July 3rd, 2023. Now for the CEO notification. From the Office of the Chief Executive Officer, an appointment. Seema Shaw Nelson, currently Community School Site Specialist Engagement Office, be appointed Special Assistant to the CEO, effective July 3rd, 2023. From the Office of the Chief Legal Officer, an appointment. Rebecca Burney, currently Interim Special Assistant Legal Affairs, be appointed Special Advisor to the Chief Legal Officer, effective June 1st, 2023. Nikisha Small, currently Associate Counsel Legal Affairs, be appointed Interim Director of Fair Practices, and this is a correction that'll be effective June 4th, 2023 through September 30th, 2023. From the Office of the Chief Operating Officer, a reassignment. Fred Mason, currently Assistant Principal at Morgenthaler Vocational Technical High School, be reassigned Assistant Principal at Patterson High School, effective July 3rd, 2023. From the Office of the Chief of Schools, a reassignment. Siobhan Newkirk, currently Principal New Era Academy, be reassigned Principal Baybrook Elementary Middle, effective July 3rd, 2023. Arceel Goddard, currently Assistant Principal at Morgenthaler Vocational Technical High School, be reassigned Assistant Principal at Digital Harbor High School, effective July 3rd, 2023. And Nicholas D'Ambrosio, currently Principal Academy for College and Career Exploration, be reassigned Principal Franklin Square Elementary Middle School, effective July 3rd, 2023. And now for the addendum. An appointment from the Office of the Chief of Schools, recommended that Jason Lewis, currently Educational Associate 10-month Digital Harbor High School, be appointed Manager of School Operations Support in the Student and School Operations Support Department, effective July 3rd, 2023. An appointment from the Office of the Chief Academic Officer, Jalima Alisea, currently Interim Executive Director Teaching and Learning, be appointed Executive Director Teaching and Learning, effective June 14th, 2023. From the Office of the Chief of Schools, a reassignment. Carl Perry, currently Principal Edmondson Westside High, be reassigned Principal External Assignment, effective July 3rd, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. And an appointment from the Office of the Chief of Staff. Amy Winchester, currently Continuous Improvement Program Director, The Fund, be appointed Director, Continuous Improvement, effective July 5th, 2023. Congratulations to all of the PEPT individuals this evening.
Yay. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you, Chief Nielsen. I am, as has become our custom, to read a brief background of new principal. Kathy O'Neill Chiavacci has worked in Baltimore City Schools for her entire 21-year career at Dallas F. Nicholas Sr. And Medfield Heights Elementary Schools. During her career, Kathy has served as an elementary and special education teacher, a reading interventionist, an IEP chair, and an assistant principal. Kathy followed in her father's footsteps into education with the belief sounded by Sidney J. Harris that, quote, The whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows. She holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Scranton, a master's degree from Loyola University, and she earned her Admin 1 from Johns Hopkins University. Congratulations, Principal Kiavaki. Did I say your name right, by the way? Oh, God, what? Oh, O'Neill. Sorry about that. Congratulations. So I am very pleased this evening to celebrate the more than 3,500 high school seniors who walked across the stage during citywide graduation ceremonies for the class of 2023. It was wonderful to attend these graduations, including Achievement Academy early this morning and National Academy Foundation last week. And I will say that seeing our young people walk across the stage to culminate their 12 plus years experience in city schools and to really launch out into their futures is really a reminder of why everyone, not just me, but why everyone in city schools does what we all do. I really want to congratulate all of our graduates for their persistent and hard work, as well as the many families that we had a chance to meet. I want to thank our Board of Commissioners for their role and our staff. Administrators for being there. I also want to give thanks to teachers and school-based and district office staff, principals, community members, everyone whose concern and support for our young people made this great achievement possible. Congratulations to the young people, to the students of our city who continue to show that they have what it takes to succeed. Next, I would also like to congratulate our own Tina Hike-Hubbard, Chief of Communications, Engagement, and Enrollment, who recently received the Johns Hopkins Alumni Association's Community Champion Award, recognizing outstanding contributions that address critical social, economic, and environmental needs throughout our society and communities. Of course, Chief Hike-Hubbard's contributions come as no surprise to all of us at City Schools, but we really are pleased and proud that her achievements have been recognized through this very prestigious award. Congratulations, Chief Hike-Hubbard. I would also like to congratulate one of our outstanding teachers, Ms. Elizabeth Gordon, at the Academy for College and Career Exploration. Ms. Gordon was selected by the National Geographic Society and Lindblad Expeditions to be part of the 15th cohort of Grosvenor Teacher Fellows. As a fellow, Ms. Gordon will travel to the Galapagos Islands in August to conduct hands-on field-based educational research as one of only 50 educators from the United States and Canada selected for this prestigious fellowship. I look forward to learning more from Ms. Gordon from her hands-on experience, and we wish her a safe journey, fruitful study, and we can't wait to welcome you back. As many of you know, Kerwin legislation requires that districts have a new career ladder that supports teacher leadership and professional growth to be in place for the 2024-2025 school year. We have been working over the last 6 months to gather input and feedback from a range of stakeholders, including the teachers union, and members of the board on the strengths and opportunities in our current teacher career pathways to inform how we want to approach this new career ladder required by Kerwin. I would like to take a few minutes for Sandy Jacobs, our district's blueprint coordinator, to share some of the highlights of what we have heard and learned through these engagements. And Sandy, I will turn this over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Santelises. Good evening, commissioners. We just wanted to take a quick minute or two, as Dr. Santelises said, to share what we've been hearing through this stakeholder engagement work as we work towards the career ladder that is required under the Kerwin Blueprint. On the next slide, just reiterating, we met with a variety of stakeholders. We met with teachers, we met with BTU leadership, central office staff, and board members, and we're so grateful for everybody's time and input. We've been lucky to work with great contractors on this work from Urban Schools Human Capital Academy, who have coordinated and facilitated this stakeholder input. And just want to quickly share a few of the top lines from what we've been hearing. On the next slide. Thank you. First, we heard that teachers want to have career pathways that allow them to advance into leadership roles. They value that our existing pathways are self-paced, that they could make decisions about if, when, and how they want to pursue advancing along the career pathways. Along with this self-pacing, is that it allows teachers to earn higher pay even relatively early in their careers, and that's something we heard is very important. We also heard really from across all stakeholders that the school level autonomy that plays out in our pathways results in a lot of variation in how they're actually implemented in schools. In some schools, there's great satisfaction about that, about how the roles are implemented and who has access to them. But we also heard concern in other places where it's playing out quite differently. And we heard again across all stakeholders some real concerns that these variations across schools can result in real inequities in who has access to the pathways and our current pathways. Relatedly, we heard that that teachers who had earned the model or lead teacher designation through our pathways weren't always the teachers recognized by their peers or by their administrators as the most effective teachers, and that our pathways weren't consistently focused, haven't been primarily focused on what might be most effective in accelerating student achievement. So our task as we move forward is to continue to consider this really important feedback as we develop the career ladder that will meet the Kerwin requirements. Thank you.
Great. And Sandy, I just want to thank you for your leadership in this. I know you work with a team and you work across groups, but you really have brought just a level of leadership in getting us ready for this work. As a district that has had career pathways for a while, I think that we have just been very fortunate at the way you've approached the work, the depth, and your ability to reach across stakeholder groups. So thank you so much for that, Sandy. And then finally, I want to give a huge shout out to Operations Chief, Dr. Lynette Washington, and her sustainability team. Last month, the Office of State and Community Energy Programs at the U.S. Department of Energy announced that City Schools was one of only 25 school districts across the United States to receive a $100,000 cash prize in the Energy Champions Leading the Advancement of Sustainable Schools, or Energy, class competition. This competition is designed to help high-need school districts make critical clean energy and health improvements by establishing training and supporting energy managers. Operations continues to make great strides in city schools with energy savings, receiving 25 electric buses to replace older diesel models and receiving 2 more net zero school building certifications already this year. Congratulations to the entire sustainability team, and thank you for your commitment to sustainability as an equity issue for our young people and future generations. That concludes my remarks for this evening, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. We're going to move item 5.01 to later in our agenda so that we can get started with public comment. But before we do that, I want to review the consent agenda. Board colleagues, please let me know if you would like an item removed, and please state your question for the staff. 8.01, gifts and donations. 8.02, gifts and donations. 8.03, BTU contract extension. 8.04, Cub contract extension. 8.05, Pizzazza contract extension. 8.06, FOP contract. 8.07, fiscal year 23 supplemental appropriation related to retiree health benefits. 8.08, fiscal year 23 Q3 budget amendments. 8.09, policy KIB, sexual offender registry, second reader. 8.10, operator renewal and waiver requests. 8.11, policy FCA, closing of schools, second reader. 11.01, Maryland Association of Boards of Education. 12.01, Great Minds PBC, Eureka Math. 12.02, Great Minds PBC, Wit and Wisdom. 12.03, Gibbs Smith, My Maryland Adventure. 12.04, Cognity USA. 12.05, Educational Development Associated, Inc. 12.06, Multiple Vendors Supplemental Instructional Materials. 12.07, Mayor's Office of Employment Development. 12.08, Associated Catholic Charities, Inc., the Villa Maria School. 12.09, Academic and Enrichment Programs, Extended Learning Services, Learning Undefeated, Inc. 12.10, Fine Arts, Extended Learning Services, Access Art. 12.11, Academic and Enrichment Programs, Extended Learning Services, Air Tutors, Inc. 15.01, Plano Cudon, LLC, renovation and addition at Mary G. Faring Annex. 16.01, Urban Teacher Center, Inc., Teacher Recruitment and Support. 16.02, Power School Group, LLC. 16.03, Handshake, Inc. 18.01, Bassberry Sims, PLC Legal Services. 19.01, Mayor's Office of Employment Development, Mayor and City Council of Baltimore Youth Opportunity Academy. 19.02, BSN Sports, Inc., and U.S. Games Athletic Supplies and Equipment. And 20.01, Hemorrhage PR contract increases. Okay. We will now move to public comment then. Speakers from recognized groups will have the opportunity to speak for 5 minutes. First, we have Diamond Tate Brown, President of the Baltimore Teachers Union.
Good evening. I speak to you tonight about the staffing crisis that is at city schools' door and the lack of action that we are seeing from the school system to address it. As we all know, The district needs to hire over 1,000 teachers by the start of the school year, and the BTU is greatly concerned over the lack of action by city schools to compete with our neighboring school districts to attract teachers, to attract talent, and to make sure that every one of our classrooms has a teacher by the start of the school year. On practically every major workplace issue, city schools is falling behind, providing less than Baltimore County Public Schools. And the school board's negotiations team has not provided a single substantive response on any of the core issues that we have raised since bargaining began nearly half a year ago. We are pleading with you to engage, to respond to the crisis at hand, and to take action to make sure that all students have a teacher in September. On salaries, on planning time, on workload, and extra duties, city schools is not competitive with Baltimore County or the other large school systems in Maryland. And currently, we cannot even get the district to commit to paying teachers earned raises on time based on our existing pay scale. First, on salaries. Baltimore County's starting salary is now $5,000 more than our starting salaries in Baltimore City. How are we supposed to attract new teachers? Teachers with student loans and teachers who are changing careers to serve students when our starting salary is so far behind our nearest neighbor. Baltimore City has more unique challenges than the county, yet we are far behind. Once again, a starting salary of $60,000 for city schools teachers merely makes us competitive with nearby districts. It does not place us in some unrealistic or unattainable level of pay. As we move into the summer, the lack of concern and conversation and commitment by our board and district leaders regarding the pay disparities we face with our neighbors is shocking, and action is overdue. We need to hear from you now. Second, workload and planning. For years, city schools leadership has put more on the plate of teachers without taking anything off. We have examined every collective bargaining agreement in the state, and we have the least guaranteed planning time of any school district in Maryland. Think about that. In the entire state, we have the least amount of time to plan for our students during the workday. We are also the only school system that doesn't guarantee a daily planning period for elementary school teachers. This is a recipe for work overload at home and burnout during the year. And this not only creates challenges to retain teachers, it makes it hard to recruit when new teachers can go to our neighboring districts and receive more support. On top of that, we are also the only large school system in Maryland that doesn't pay teachers when they cover an absent teacher's classroom. We've had staffing shortages all year, and all year teachers have stepped up to fill gaps. Everywhere you look in Maryland, you see districts reach agreements with their unions to provide compensation for this extra work. But for 3 years, the school board's bargaining representatives have rejected this compensation. This must end if we want to stem the tide of resignations and show greater appreciation for the extra work that teachers do for our students. We also have significant issues with receiving our pay raises on time. We have a pay for performance system, and when we earn raises, these should occur by no later than the start of the school year. However, this past year and for years before then, we often are paid late, months late, usually not receiving our pay increases until late October or November. This is outrageous and betrays the most basic obligation an employer has with an employee, to pay them on time. City schools must work overtime to fix this, staffing the compensation and payroll teams accordingly to ensure that all teachers, PSRPs, and clinicians receive their pay raise when they've earned it. So far, district representatives have been unable to commit to fixing this for the 23-24 school year, and it's unacceptable. So this is a crisis we're facing. City schools is failing to compete with Baltimore County and other school systems on salaries, on planning time, on compensating staff for extra work, and paying staff on time. Teachers deserve better than this, and it must be a priority for city schools to make sure that there's a teacher for every student come the fall. We need action, and we need it now, which is why we're here on the last day of school instead of enjoying our summer vacation.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Melissa Schubert representing the Parent Community Advisory Board. Melissa Schubert representing the Parent.
I'm going to be playing a video for her.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Good evening. This is the 5th time PCAP has testified regarding FCA. We appreciate the red lines, which incorporate many suggestions we shared on behalf of affected families and communities. Tonight, PCAP wishes to shift the conversation away from FCA and isolation. A 2018 report on rezoning feasibility noted that the district had not comprehensively rezoned in 2 decades despite significant population shifts. Rezoning might sound distantly related to closure, but it is not. Data provided to the Operations Committee shows variable school enrollment rates, driven in part by nearly half of families opting out of their home zone school. While some variation is expected, PCAP sees disparate utilization in which overcapacity schools neighbor under-enrolled ones. Understanding how and why families choose schools is urgent, given that the district is projected to fall below 86% utilization in a few years' time. PCAP is concerned about formal and informal enrollment policies and practices that compound advantage for some. Families with social capital and transportation choose schools, bypassing traditional processes which affect school utilization. These practices create 2 separate and unequal systems, enrollment mandates for some and an enrollment menu for others. PCAP is unaware of any comprehensive examination of enrollment policies and practices, even as Policy ADA states. City schools will work aggressively and efficiently to eliminate inequitable practices, systems, and structures. What practice is more fundamental than enrollment? We also note that the district is simultaneously renovating, rebuilding, closing, and opening or expanding charter schools in parallel processes that seem neither strategically aligned nor regularly revisited. For example, in 2016, the board approved a geographic preference for Montessori. Same year, Dallas Nicholas in the same catchment was 84% enrolled. Seat increases for Montessori were approved in 2017 and 2022, but as Montessori grew, Dallas Nicholas shrank. Enrollment has fallen to just 70%. PCAB wishes to understand the metrics by which the board initially approves and under what criteria such decisions are reevaluated. Under the Fair Student Funding Model formula, shrinking enrollment means a shrinking budget. PCAB sees and is concerned by the disparities between fully enrolled and under-enrolled schools. These programmatic disparities should prod this board to examine its equity governance responsibilities. To that end, we make 2 requests of the board. The first is transparently report on how the district's policies for enrollment, closure, rezoning, equity, and choice affect enrollment. The second is to take responsibility for coordinating with the planning department for equitable and community-centered disposition of closed school buildings. On the first request, schools do not become under-enrolled overnight. When enrollment begins falling, what is the board's governance role in stemming loss? To quote Eve Ewing, something that seems excruciatingly obvious yet has gone undiscussed in the official district narrative. Where is the accountability from the district leaders themselves? Is it fair for those charged with allocating resources to levy the accusation against those who are supposed to receive them? For example, using Policy ADA to examine the placement of enrollment boosting magnet programs. The yellow dots are schools closed since 2013. Blue dots are middle school advanced academic and ingenuity programs. Why are these programs heavily concentrated in the northern half of the city where school enrollment is stronger than on the west side where enrollment is weak? We recognize that rezoning and reallocating programs is a fraught process. Difficulty and discomfort must not be an excuse if we are to honor our codified policy commitments to all families and all communities. On our second request, if we can have an MOU to govern 21st century rebuilding, we can have one with the planning department to set transparent expectations for disposition. That means honoring community and family wishes with buildings cared for and expectations for future owners during redevelopment. Finally, staff have repeatedly cited school closure in Chicago. Chicago researchers found that the population of Black neighborhoods fell further and faster following school closure. These findings should be taken seriously here in Baltimore, where we too are experiencing population loss. Artificial segmentation of the closure process is folly. We are one city. Processes that permit developers to swoop in or a school to close in 2015, the city not to issue an RFP for 4 years, and it's still to be empty 8 years later, as is the case with Waverly Middle, are broken. We urge this board to publicly commit itself to identifying and then dismantling practices at odds with adopted policies to serve children and families equitably. Thank you.
Sorry. Next, we have Grant Travis representing the Associated Student Congress for Baltimore City.
I'm playing for a video for him as well.
Hi, my name is Grant Travis. I'm the ad hoc member for ASCBC, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. I would first like to get started with the interim commissioner application process. The student commissioner must be a rising junior or senior enrolled in a Baltimore City public secondary school. The student commissioner must be able to commit to a minimum of 12 hours per month, at least for meetings and preparations for the meetings. And so for the overall process, there will be a 2 to 3 week application window, during which will allow candidates running for the student commissioner to submit applications. Following this application window, so after an informational meeting for candidates, which is mandatory, will allot a 1 week window to submit campaign materials. Campaign materials can include a website / social media page, a poster / flyer to distribute at ASCBC's nominating conventions. These will be printed by central office staff to ensure equity. A short campaign video shot by City Schools Communications team will offer appointments to record this at North Avenue. If there are more than 3 people running for the student commissioner position, this will trigger a nominating convention. For the 2023-2024 school year, the nominating convention will occur twice. Once at ASCBC's Fall General Assembly. This will select candidates for the 2023-2024 school year at the ASCBC's Spring General Assembly to select candidates for the 2024-2025 school year. At the nominating convention, all SGA members would meet the candidates and listen to the candidates on a Q&A panel. Votes for those candidates will be conducted via a Google form at the General Assembly that we will be holding. We would then announce which candidates advanced to the ballot. Next, we recently had our 3rd General Assembly in June of 2023. At this General Assembly, we passed constitutional amendments, and we had 26 different schools turn out for this event. We also had Dr. S. and Chair Richardson as guest speakers at this event. This year, we attended mask events. We doubled SGAs in the district. We passed Policy JJA and Senate Bill 31. So it's a very successful year overall. And finally, we support and stand by the teachers union for the request for higher pay for teachers and staff, along with more communication from the district. And with that being said, thank you for listening and taking your time out. Have a good evening.
I want to now turn it over to the administrative assistant for public comment.
Thank you, Chair Richardson. We have a comment to be read by Mr. Ted Eccleston, and it'll be read by Commissioner Roberts.
Thank you, Jessica. Tonight's public comment comes from Ted Eccleston, a teacher at Bluford Drew Jemison STEM Academy. The agenda topic is gun violence. This message comes from a second-year teacher concerned for the safety and well-being of our schools, students, staff, and broader Baltimore community. On March 21st, 2023, I became aware of a loaded gun in my 7th grade classroom. I had to locate and safely remove the loaded gun from the classroom. 2 months earlier, one of our students lost his little brother to a fatal gun incident, and a few weeks later, he was arrested for the incident while he was in school. And 2 months before that, a semi-automatic weapon was confiscated just outside of our building in the parking lot, and our student was arrested just outside the building. Not a month before that, one of our students had to request a safety transfer out of our school because of an after-school argument that led to his house being shot at. These are only the known instances of the physical and psychological harm guns cause in our small school of about 200 students. There were more rumors of guns in the school throughout the year, but they weren't recovered. But still, they make a mark on students, faculty, and the school community. Where is the school leadership in addressing this? We need an active response to all of these incidents. As a teacher, I'm able to provide a limited amount of support, but far too little for what is needed. With all of this, I ask you to answer bravely, are you doing enough? How do we expect these young people to learn in this environment? Where is the counseling, the mediation, the intervention, the support? How can teachers be expected to perform with this threat to safely hanging over us? If this board is informed and aware, which I hope you all are, then I say this board needs to do more. You need to prioritize the safety and well-being of our schools. And if you're not aware of what is plaguing our schools at every level, then I implore you to do better, to investigate and listen. And most importantly, please do not normalize these incidents. Even though we go through so much in this city every year, the loss of life of young people ensnared in gun violence, we cannot normalize it. We cannot accept it. We need to do better. Thank you.
The rest of our public comment will be given in person. The first person we have is Ms. Niera Mallett.
Hello, my name is Niara Molette. As a BCPSS student who has attended a multitude of schools, I have seen firsthand the difference in mental health services throughout them. For example, even though I'm going to Western currently, at the beginning of the year, I was placed at Vivian T. Thomas Medical Arts Academy. There was a lot of things that concerned me as a student, such as lack of mental health services, not being aware that we had a social worker, and the overall school climate. I didn't learn about the school social worker until after I left Vivian T. And there's most likely students still unaware of her presence at the school. If they don't know she is there, how can students get help? There is a drastic difference in mental health resources in Vivian T compared to Western. At Western, I have a therapist and psychiatrist provided to me through the school, a social worker, and additional people in our mental health department. When I was at Vivian T, I didn't even have a conversation with the social worker, even though I do have a mental health history. When we did have brief conversations about mental health in school, we never went into depth until Youth as Resources came and started climate clubs. Students are expected to be present and focused in schools, but how can we if we aren't in the mental space to even begin to comprehend our lives and what's going on in them? Our friends, family, and peers are being killed all around us. We are piled with work and tests and more. Who is helping us through this, and who is helping the kids who don't have family or family that care? I hear how everyone is worried about the current and future reading scores, but how can we help the issue when students are mentally present? According to Mental Health America, 11.5%, which is over 2.7 million youth, suffer from major depression this year alone. The National Alliance states and one in six youth experiences mental disorder each year. Last but not least, the CDC shows that the rate of children between the years of 6 and 17 being diagnosed with anxiety and depression is rising every year. In 2003, it was 5.4%, jumping to 8.4% in 2011. And these are just the cases reported. Some may say that schools shouldn't be held accountable. People may say that schools shouldn't be held accountable for this, but they should. Students spend over an average of a third of their day in schools 5 days a week, making school one of a child's biggest and most important experiences. School is made to prepare students to become productive citizens. When it comes to careers, comprehension, and college, that's done. So why do we not also focus on the thing that runs our lives, our minds? Now, my questions are, my questions are, why does one school have all these resources, yet some others don't? And how can we as students, teachers, staff, organizations, and most importantly, as a community, better the mental health resources in our schools that need them the most? We want answers now. Thank you.
Wait a minute. Could you pause her? What's the young lady's name? Excuse me. I need the young lady. Can you make sure the staff has your list of questions, okay, before you go? I appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you.
Next, we have public comment by Rayfeld Mason.
They didn't hear you. It's Rayfield Mason in person.
All right. How y'all doing? My name is Ray. I'm a parent of a 3-year-old son and a Mervyn Career 2023 graduate. I want my son to have a better role with the school system than I had. I want him to know that he will always have people in his corner when he is in school and I am not there. I started high school in 2017. I had challenges like parenting. The way I learned is not on computers and Zoom rooms. But I did it. And my son seen me walk across stage on Saturday. On December 4th, 2022, my friend was murdered. She was so close to me that I considered her a sister. She was pregnant. My head was so messed up, I almost gave up. Once I explained what was going on with me, my village stepped up. It is still a challenge, but I know who is watching me and who supports me. Thank you, Mr. Marshall, my old teacher from Monroe, Ray Moore, community school coordinator, Mr. Swartz, my career English teacher, Mr. Carr, our school social worker, and my yard family. Not everyone has a village. Not everyone is willing, as I was, to admit they are struggling. That is why I know we need more teachers trained in trauma, more social workers, mentors, available counselors, and room for us to help each other so we don't give up. We need mental health and social emotional support before we can even focus on our schoolwork. I could have been one of those students who computer alerted school police at the school hours. If the police showed up at my house, they would not have been welcome. And I would be even more upset. I would not have talked to the police officer. I would only be comfortable with someone who is trained in crisis. I would be appreciative of the school police knocking on my door if my child was in danger. Student mental health is not what keeps me up at night. Math and English scores do, said John Davis in a meeting with the youth-led school police accountability roundtable. Well, Mr. Davis, if I am not well and safe, I cannot do schoolwork, cannot focus. I understand that you are comfortable with police, but in my neighborhood, that would not work. And it would not lead to getting the help needed at all. You don't understand my life or my peers' lives. I would rather be led by someone who believes me when I speak my truth instead of telling me what you think is important. How would you all feel if your children were being treated like we are being treated? You have made us feel like we are not important and our voices are not important. You have made me feel like a nobody. To the school board, please work with us and hear us about the resources we need and want. You never know, we might be able to really make a change, and it starts with us and it starts with y'all. Thank you.
Next, we have public comment from Sean Rice.
Jessica, are there any other speakers?
Yes, the next one is from Sean Rice.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Rice, and I'm currently a student at Career Academy and a board member at Youth as Resources. Today, I would like to discuss a few concerns about how funds are being allocated towards particular resources in the Baltimore City public school system. And I believe that school resources should be decided upon by the people who are impacted by them. And that I also believe students would benefit better from mental health resources versus being policed even when they're outside of school. The money pooled into the school police's budget could be put into student well-being and mental health. The Baltimore City public school system is made up of mostly minorities and impoverished students who are likely facing hardships outside of school, aside from them not having the proper mental health resources and acknowledgement in the spaces you all provide. You cannot expect students to perform well in school given the circumstances they are placed in. Take bullying, for example. Students who are being bullied are less likely to do well in their classes due to the strain and influence on them from the bullying. In most cases, this could lead to a drastic decline in their grades, which is something I've seen and experienced myself. In some cases, when students do not have proper help or resources, their mental state worsens. This is typically worse for LGBTQ youth. In 2022, 45% of youth experiencing mental health issues, suicidal thoughts, and more were a part of the LGBTQ community. I believe this is very alarming because it makes youth in the LGBTQ community feel unsafe and like they have nobody to confide in, as well as lack the mental resources to get past the trauma inflicted on them due to the people around them who view what they do as sin and torment them into wanting to harm themselves. And that I believe there should be more resources to address student mental health in general, as well as separate resources directed to support the LGBTQ community. And I ask that you please work with us to get the resources that we need, as this would greatly help students and help improve their mental states and their well-being inside of schools. Thank you.
Next, we have Anthony Martin.
So we can't hear the next speaker that she's calling out. I don't mind you applauding, but can it like be a little shorter so that we can so that we can show respect for everyone who's signed up for public comment. Thank you. Who's next, Jessica?
Anthony Martin.
Anthony, I'm gonna have you just push the green button right here, just so we can hear you. There we go.
Hello, my name is Anthony Martin, and I'm a student at Baltimore City College and a board member at Youth as Resources. I believe school can be very overwhelming for students, leading some to giving up, failing their classes, and some might even drop out. In worst cases, possible attempts at hurting themselves. I'm testifying today against school police serving as a first response in mental health crisis. I don't think police are good for handling mental health crisis because that is not their profession. they weren't trained to handle a teenager's mental health. All they can do is tell the parent, but that won't go over some, as some parents don't believe that mental illnesses exist and will just make the student's life even more of a struggle. But on the other hand, a therapist could talk to the student and help them, as well as maybe get the parent to understand. Us at Youth as Resources have been trying to get to a point where we can work on with the district on this, but it feels like it's just going through one ear, not the other. Talking about how they care about the students' grades. But I know this will be shocking, but mental health affects the students' grades. If they aren't feeling well mentally, then their grades can drop drastically. And seeing those grades won't help it either. So I think integrating professional therapists into schools can help these struggling students so much. And it should be encouraged for students to take advantage of it. And it could help with the students that have a terrible home situation, living in poor conditions, being abused by the guardian/parents, and it could help them academically too. And I know schools have social workers, but most schools only have one, and having to deal with a lot. Please work with us to get these resources that we need.
So Jessica, who's next?
Next, we have Charmaina Clay.
Thank you.
Good evening. Again, my name is Charmaina Clay. This fall, I will be moving into my 20th year as an English teacher here in Baltimore City Public Schools. 18 of them has been at Western High School. And I am here because I would love to request some support around transparency. And what I mean by, and let me give you the context. On May 31st, our administrator received an email from the interim executive director of teaching and learning that said that she plans to sunset, and that's the verb that she used, to sunset our pre-AP English 1 and 2 courses. Now, Western is a pre-AP school. That's what differentiates us. You know, we're a rigorous high school, and we just want to provide the students with an opportunity to take these challenging courses. And we want to prepare them. Then the pre-AP 1 and 2 has prepared them based on our data. My data tells me that we are competitive with our citywide counterparts. Our NCAP data, we're only 1 or 2 points behind our counterpoint, our citywide counterparts. So I just don't understand why this decision is being made, and more importantly, why that decision is being made without our input at all. So here is just a couple of talking points I want to share from my colleagues, because I am representing my 10th and 9th grade teachers in my department. I said, at Western, our English department offers the most AP courses of all the departments: AP Literature, AP Language, AP Seminar, and AP Research. One of our major goals in adopting a pre-AP English 1 and 2 courses was to prepare our students for the rigor of these courses. Western is a competitive citywide high school, and we can and should support a curriculum that is more rigorous than other high schools. City uses the IB curriculum, Poly uses Ingenuity. Pre-AP is what differentiates Western. So I removed that one subject area from that. And from our perspective, the decision seems to be made in isolation. Our principal, our teaching staff, we were not included in this process. We only received communication after a decision to sunset the program was made. And this sunset email, that's what we call it in our department, the sunset email, it said that there were ongoing conversations with whom? Even our academic content liaison was unaware of it. And then the irony of the C in content is not lost on me. So I just need your support. And we requested transparency. We requested a meeting. We requested a response. We have received 0 response since May 31st. And I just need the board's support and helping us have a conversation. If we are stakeholders, and we're told time and time again that we are stakeholders, I would like to be treated as a stakeholder. We are working with the number one stakeholder for 180 days. And for me, that's 180 days times 19 years. So if I am a stakeholder, I need to be treated as such. And all I need is the board's support and having a conversation around a decision that impacts the teachers. I was the one who was there. I helped create the pre-AP English 1 curriculum. I've worked both 1 and 2 for pre-AP. I've seen the work that we put in. I've seen the implementation. I've seen the revision of the lessons in these 2 or 3 years, which really isn't enough time to determine whether or not a curriculum is successful or not, to be honest.
Ms. Clay, if you could wrap up a little.
Yes. So I just need support in, as Western seeks transparency with the decision makers. And that's why I'm here. We need your support. We need that transparency.
Just so you know, just to follow up, the Executive Director for Teaching and Learning, Jamila, are you here? Yeah, okay, so if you want, you can schedule some time with her. She's right here, and that meeting, and making sure you get that, okay? You're very welcome.
Jessica, who's next?
Next, we have Nathan Farrell.
Hello. My name is Nathan Farrell, and I'm providing public comments on the issue of compensation, recruitment, and retention. July 15th marks the last day licensed tenured educators can resign in Maryland. So what's keeping educators here when they can earn more money under significantly better working conditions in another district? The district has refused to address the issue of teacher compensation in any meaningful way. 32% raise for school police, you all, with bonuses and overtime. Come on. We are panicked, you all. We are panicked that we're going to have another year where we're providing class coverage for free, that the kids are not going to be getting what they deserve. Why does this board refuse to pay us for covering classes? We're the only district in the state. Can you imagine your family member, your wife, your child coming home after an exhausting day of work, and then they tell you, the boss is making me give up my planning period today. The boss is making me work more hours with less pay. What would you tell them? Our colleagues' families are telling them it's time to leave city schools. That's what our husbands and wives and parents are telling our colleagues. Between now and July 15th, dedicated, talented, and hardworking educators are going to leave the district for better working conditions and better pay. Sunday night, I was texting a colleague about this issue, and she texted me back, said, she accepted a job in Baltimore County. She texted me, I'm happy I can continue meeting the needs of students in a district that genuinely wants me. This past Thursday, I was at the front desk at BTU, and I got 4 cold calls, just like random phone calls from prospective hires. The first was a certified ESOL teacher from Colorado. She was in shock with her salary offer from city schools. The offers she'd gotten from neighboring Maryland counties this school year were significantly higher. She was calling me to see if human capital made a mistake. The second phone call I got was from a certified school colleges from Connecticut. The candidate, having already received multiple offers from surrounding districts in Maryland, called Human Capital to check on her update of her offer. The individual she spoke with in HC said that until she got her official offer via email, no one was able to talk to her or even discuss salary. The candidate from Connecticut finds it really difficult to pursue a job in city schools due to the lack of responsiveness and clarity around salary. I'm getting these random phone calls. Additionally, while at a community event on this past Saturday, I was talking with an art teacher, and she's currently contracted through an agency, but she's at a city school. She's at an elementary school. Diamond Tay was talking with her too. And she's applying to be a full-time city schools teacher. She's facing significant barriers. And we've talked about this. The EPI assessment, it is discriminatory. It's gatekeeping. It impacts our Black and brown educators. It impacts our people who do not have English as a first language, who are brilliant, hardworking educators. This process is problematic at best. At best. What is this board doing to address retention and recruitment? We are desperate and scared right now. People are going to leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica, who's next?
Next, we have Miss Samia Sal.
Button. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to hear what we have to say today. My name's Samia, and I'm the director of the Violet Project, which is an organization created by a passionate team of researchers, physicians, and youth at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, Gynecology, and Obstetrics Department. We wanted to share this resource with you all, as well as elevate the concerns of the many youth that we work with. The Violet Project was launched in the summer of 2021 and has steadily grown to provide comprehensive and accessible sexual and reproductive health information to youth living in Baltimore and beyond. This project has 3 core tenets. 1, to provide reliable and easily understandable education to youth about inclusive sex ed through social media and our digital website, violetproject.org. 2, to provide free safe sex products, free self-collect STI testing and treatment, and free menstrual products to any youth living in Maryland. And 3, to educate and empower youth as peer advocates and educators through our Youth Advisory Board, school-based peer education program, and clinic-based peer education program. So far, we've trained 150 peer educators, impacted over 1,000 patients in clinical settings, and given out over $200,000 of free sexual and reproductive health products and treatment. Through our time working with our youth peer educators and giving guest lectures in nearly 24 schools, the majority of which were within BCPSS, we have heard repeatedly that sex ed is falling short of what youth need, whether that be due to the logistical barriers of training educators, the discomfort that educators may face in tackling taboo topics such as menstrual and sexual health, or the generational lack of information we have when it comes to sex ed. Sex ed is not taught regularly like math or history, and therefore we need to give our educators extra support to gain the level of knowledge required to effectively teach sex ed. We all move through life seeking human connection and forming relationships, yet how to do so safely and in a healthy way is not normalized, and we're failing Baltimore youth. In our current political climate, it's more important than ever that youth be taught the skills to require to take their health into their own hands. So we thank you for your time and would appreciate connecting with anyone on the board or in public attendance who would be open to a discussion to support this cause. Thank you.
Jessica, who's next?
Our last public comment will be Miss Jocelyn Providence.
Good evening. Okay, it's fine. Sorry that I'm reading off of a laptop. Good evening. My name is Jocelyn Providence, and I'm a high school math teacher in Baltimore City Public Schools. Today was the last day of school. Woo! It feels like it's been multiple years within this one year because of the demands of the school year. These demands include us doing so much additional work that are asked outside of the school day and outside the scope of what it means to be an instructional teacher. And yet we teachers and school staff continue to show up every single day, even outside school days for our students, because this is what our students, families, and our community deserve. However, we continue to not receive the compensation and respect that we deserve. BTU still has not even received a response on our contract negotiations. As a teacher, I know that not responding to requests, conversations, and proposals from my students, families, and stakeholders would be completely disrespectful and unprofessional. And for district leadership to behave this way, I think of it as the same way, disrespectful and unprofessional. I am about to start my 10th year teaching in Baltimore City. I live here. I plan on sending my children here, and I am committed and invested in our schools. But we as teachers need sustainable careers that demonstrate that we are valued. A few ways I'd like to highlight are: 1, teachers deserve to be paid for the many hours that we are asked, voluntold, or sometimes even forced to cover classes during our planning periods, or combine already large classes into huge classes of sometimes over 40+ students. Other school districts in Maryland do this. Why doesn't BCPSS value our teachers the same way? 2, allow the very minimal number of families of teachers who are married to teachers to be able to take their maternity, paternity leave, or family leave together, or bare minimum, allow them to get their federally allotted 30 days. BCPSS forces families to split the 30 days amongst parents. I have personally experienced this, and it is disrespectful that we aren't given our federally allotted 30 days each. 3, Finally, if we want to keep, retain, and recruit strong and competitive teachers, the starting salary should be $60K. The prices of everything have increased. As teachers, I have to pay for school supplies and essential items for my classroom that are not provided. Anyone who has a little human in their life knows the price of childcare has increased, and I support childcare professionals being paid their worth. The current stipend provided of barely being paid about $50 an hour for outside of contractual hours for staff is not the same price it would cost me to extend daycare for my son, or per hour high quality babysitting. How can I financially make the decision to spend more money to have my child supported if I can't be with them? If I can't be with them, then I won't be compensated for that. So a couple last quick notes. One, separating and closing school communities is bad. I am against policy FCA for closing schools. Two, for Pride Month, the district should recognize the shortcomings in the healthcare coverages for LGBTQ staff, specifically as it relates to fertility treatment. Three, I asked the board to not approve procurement 12.01 related to Eureka Math. As a math teacher going into her 10th year, I do not support $3.5 million for Eureka Math curriculum, knowing the high quality teachers we have here in the district building their own curriculum. This should not be the amount of money that we are giving to an outside corporation for our students. This should not be improved without qualitative and quantitative data from teachers currently teaching in math classrooms, like myself and my colleagues. And finally, last week, the district should work on, the district and Baltimore City, as well as surrounding areas, experienced a code red air quality. The district should have a code red air quality official policy and plan, because we will have more of them in our future because of climate change. We had to deal with virtual learning before. We should be able to make a plan working with school staff of how we can adapt accordingly. We have a lot of vulnerable youth, vulnerable staff members and families that we shouldn't be subjecting to going out into that environment. And we can make a plan for that together. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all, and thank you for your advocacy tonight. You all have been heard. Based on public comments to my board colleagues, are there any additional items or any items that the board would like pulled from the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none and seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So move, Robert.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second?
Second, Sally.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden? Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito? Yes. Commissioner Griffin? She's still with us? Okay. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay? Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I am in favor. That motion passes with 7 in favor and
4.
oh,
4 absent.
it's no 7.
7 and 4 is 11, right? 7 in favor, 4 absent.
7 in favor and 4 absent. Okay, thank you. Now I want to go back to item 5.01, information and discussion. We will now hear a presentation from Chief Dabrowski on the IGERB new regulation on media library services, first reader.
So as staff is getting seated this evening, so this is a policy that came to for first reader to the policy committee. So I want to thank the staff for thankfully and graciously taking questions of our board. And I'm hoping that this presentation provides just a little bit more clarity for the public in terms of city schools and the board's commitment to ensuring that we have really strong libraries in our system. So Turn it over to our colleagues.
Thank you. Commissioners, Dr. Santelises, good evening, and thank you for allowing us to share this proposed regulation with you this evening. My name is Stacey Davis. I'm the coordinator for Library Media and Instructional Technology, and we're going to talk about Administrative Regulation IGE-RB. As we go through the regulation this evening, we're going to talk through its alignment. We're going to discuss the current context of our library media programs, and we're going to discuss the regulation purpose and features. Just to discuss quickly the alignment with strategic priorities, we do feel that our library program does align with most of our priorities, and you see those highlighted there. And then additionally, our library programming and this regulation will support all of our district goals. In relationship to our Reconnect, Restore, and Reimagine plan, this particular regulation will support acceleration in the idea of high quality instructional materials. I want to start by talking about the benefits of a school library and why it's so important for us to be able to present to you tonight and to be able to codify some of the guidance that we provide schools around our school library programming. There's a lot of research and a lot of data out on the internet and in the world that talks about the benefits of school libraries and how impactful they are to student success and to student growth. These particular data points on the slide highlight that, and they also talk about the ability for a school librarian to help teachers in the building with current trends and emerging technologies and to help them find resources that support instruction. We also wanted to share with you this evening some information about the partners for our library programming. Just to name the largest and most influential, we've got our Harry and Jeanette Weinberg Foundation, the Enoch Pratt Free Library, Heart of America, T. Rowe Price, Maryland Humanities, the Reginald F. Lewis Museum, and we have now a new Masters of Library Service cohort with Notre Dame University of Maryland to support staffing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then as we talk about programming and things that we're doing in our library programs in city schools, we've done a new Makerspace initiative where our schools have received some materials in conjunction with our GAL programming. We have our One Book Baltimore shared reading program. We've had a wide variety of author visits this year that have been incredibly engaging and impactful for our students. And then we have an ongoing set of Pratt visits where our students and teachers go to the Enoch Pratt for services, and where librarians from the Pratt come to schools. Highlighting our partnership for Weinberg Libraries, you can see on this slide all of the schools that have received a transformation in their library through the partnership and collaboration with the Weinberg Foundation. These are done in conjunction with some funding that happens here in the district and are generally aligned with capital projects. Also on this slide, we have a note about the future sites that are coming in the upcoming school years. I want to really shout out the team around author visits. They've been working really closely with the Pratt. The Pratt has committed to us that anytime they bring a juvenile or adolescent author to Baltimore City, they're going to include at least one visit in our schools. So we have an ongoing program and series of author visits that really have been well received, and kids have just been amazing as they talk with the authors. They've asked really great questions, and they have just interacted in a way that has been uplifting. And yes, I'm sorry, one other thing with that, the Pratt is also committed to providing the book that the author has written as part of that visit. Thank you. I wanted to share a little context and current data around our school library programming. Currently, we have an average publication year in our schools of around the year 2000. I bring that up to kind of really highlight the fact that our collections are aging, and we want to make sure that we are helping our schools really provide up-to-date and current resources. The analogy that I use as we do these slides is that I have a daughter who was born in the year 2000. She's now 23 years old. And in her life, she has seen iconic events such as 9/11, the advent of social media, the first iPhone, which is something that she uses all the time, a global financial crisis second only to the Great Depression, the first Black president and the first female vice president, and a variety of other events. If she were to walk into some of our school libraries, her life would not be represented in the collection. And I think when you think of that this way, and you think about what our students who are just slightly younger than she are, or significantly younger, their lives are not being represented in our library collections. And so that's something that we have recognized and we know that we need to work on, and we've been working with our librarians significantly on collection development. We also note that our libraries have a staffing shortage. We currently have 73 schools that are being served with library services. That's 73 out of 164. So while we are working to increase recruitment, one of the things that we have done is set up a cohort with Notre Dame University of Maryland to increase our number of certified teacher librarians to be able to move into some of those vacancies. This year alone, since that started, and since we've partnered with Human Capital, we have increased our library staff by 15 at least, 17 apparently as of today. We also wanted to mention our funding. We do have some inconsistencies in funding across our schools. We do recommend annually that schools budget a minimum of $2,500 for collection development and resources in their library, and this document will codify that alignment to budget guidance. The other thing that we have really considered in this particular regulation is our process for book challenges and reconsideration. So we did not have a process prior to this regulation, and what we've done here is outline that process, and we'll talk about that tonight. So digging into the regulation, we wanted to first ground it in Maryland law. So it is aligned with COMAR, and it codifies guidance that we've provided as well. Maryland law does dictate some monitoring and review and data collection, and it also provides guidance around ensuring that each school library has a certified librarian. We also wanted to make sure that this was aligned with our curriculum policy. So it is aligned to policy IGE curriculum in order to really showcase the fact that our school libraries are part of our city schools curriculum, and they are essential to what is happening in a school. It's important to note that this policy will replace the current board rule on school libraries. Part of this regulation also leads to a couple of slight revisions to policy IGE, and one is just highlighting in the importance of the school library media program and then adding 2 definitions. And I'm not going to read this slide to you, but the definitions are here and are in the slides that you have. We also wanted to ensure that this regulation was aligned with equity policy ADA. It's really important to us that our school libraries are representative of our students and our communities that our schools serve. So we wanted to make sure that we align this and make sure that our students have equitable access, that the content is culturally relevant, that they have opportunities to thrive in our academic programs, that the budgets reflect this, and that our libraries have cross-curricular connections and materials. So IGERB, the School Library Media Program, is committed to, the purpose of it is letting us know that it is committed to providing inviting spaces for students to learn, to foster curiosity and appreciate the power of information through both print and digital sources. Again, integral to city schools curriculum, and it strives to provide students with a safe and dynamic learning environment where they feel supported, and most importantly, where they feel included. The programming that we provide and that we have highlighted in the regulation, again, in accordance with law, really states in this regulation that it must be accessible to all students. So the materials must be accessible. The instruction needs to provide information literacy skills and reading and research. And our school library staff are certified teacher librarians. In addition, We want to ensure that programs are aligned with curriculum and provide students with literacy skills. We want to make sure that our libraries are scheduled in a way that they can serve all students. And we want to make sure that we're aligned with other policies and regulations. We also, again, are codifying the fact that our schools have to collect data every year to help us know what is in the libraries, how many books, and the age of collections, as well as the types of activities our school librarians do with our students. And then also we are highlighting our partnerships, which are so critical to our library programming. Some of the upcoming things that we're going to see in our libraries and that we're going to continue through the next couple of years are maker spaces, which have been a real hit with our librarians so far. They've gotten things like sewing machines and vinyl cutters, button makers, and things that students can use to really demonstrate their understanding and their learning in ways that are really out of the box and very creative. We've also collaborated with our AP teachers to ensure that our AP research is collaborative, and the partnership between the librarian and the AP teacher is incredibly strong. We're also encouraging our high school librarians to teach the AP research course because it is so well aligned with our information literacy standards. We've also started this year to build out an ebook central library. As we talk about inclusivity and representation, we want to make sure that students in our virtual programs and who have little access to text are able to get those materials through ebooks. And then we've also increased our shared reading programs with more interaction and more, participation in our One Book Baltimore and our Maryland Humanities programs, One Maryland, One Book. And then again, the ongoing author visits. And again, supporting all learners is key and critical to what it is that we do. So this particular regulation will articulate requirements for library collections and for programming to ensure that any student with disabilities, English language learners, all students are able to be included in those programs. We mentioned earlier that we do have a staffing shortage as it comes to our libraries. So we have put in this regulation and codified again that school libraries should be operated by a certified library media specialist. Our preference would be to have a teacher librarian because they have such great instructional background. And that's why we're building out cohorts and partnerships with universities to get that certification in place. We've also provided some options for schools that are unable to fill the vacancy of a librarian. So things like having someone there to circulate books or to perhaps have a substitute in place so that library services and programming can continue even without someone in that space permanently. And then again, the certification cohorts and our collaboration with HC partners so that we can increase our number of certified librarians. We also wanted to clarify in the regulation the evaluation, selection, and maintenance of our materials in our libraries. So what we've laid out in the regulation is that the academics office sets the guidance and the guidelines for the selection of materials, all content related. And we are developing a core list of library materials that schools will pick from first. Schools then can add additional resources to reflect the interests and needs of the school community. And we've put into place in this regulation the opportunity for students, parents, staff, and community members to make suggestions and recommendations for books to be included or titles to be included in the school library. Part of the criteria around selection includes curriculum alignment. We consider the age and developmental level of students. We want to ensure the books are culturally responsive and represent a variety of viewpoints. And we need to make sure that they're meeting the broad cross-section of needs of our students. And then lastly, we want to ensure that they're high quality. As we said in the beginning, we have not had a policy for book challenges. Fortunately, we have not had a book challenge, although I've probably just jinxed us and we'll get one tomorrow. But we have not yet had a reconsideration request. But we wanted to be prepared for those. We see those happening nationally and we see them happening in the state of Maryland. And so we wanted to make sure that we were prepared when those started to happen. So in this regulation, we have clarified that policy and that process. So first it starts with a conversation with the principal at the school. So whoever is making the request to pull or challenge a book should talk first with their principal. And if there's no agreement or no ability to work out whatever the concern is, maybe then we will have that formally requested to our team. Once that happens, we'll make notification to all of the schools that have that particular title on their shelves, and we'll ask those schools then to reach out to their school and family community council, their SGA and other organizations in order to get feedback around that title. And then that feedback will be given to a committee that will meet to review the challenge, review the feedback, and then make a decision around whether or not that book remains in place or whether or not it is a grade level change or being pulled from the shelves altogether. What's really important to note here is that during this process, books will remain on the shelves. We will not pull books without having gone through that full process. So implementation of this policy, we have engaged stakeholders in the community in our library media programs to increase awareness of the regulation. We continue to support schools in budgeting for library media services and collections, and we complete budget guidance every year. We are continuing to establish collections guidance and resources for our teachers and for our librarians. And then we're going to continue to work to fully staff our libraries. Our goal is to have a librarian in every single school. We did engage in stakeholder engagement. We reached out to the groups on this slide and heard back from just a couple of them, and I'll share that feedback with you. One of our most thoughtful feedback came from ASCBC and the students, and their focus was really on the reconsideration policy. And so you can see here that their feedback included considering diversity, adding a student member, ensuring that the person that submits a reconsideration challenge has read all of the material, and then considering a form letter for schools that have a challenge for a book that was already challenged. We also received feedback from the BTU, and those two items included that plans for library collection development would be available on schools' websites, and that the regulation should mandate school funding towards the library. And we have responded to those, and we did want to just make sure that the BTU knows that the regulation will uphold the funding guidance that is suggested every year. Questions?
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Corey.
I'll make a comment more than a question, but maybe one question towards the end, which is, as a parent of 3 students, 2 of whom are old enough that they love spending time in both school library and also the Enoch Pratt neighborhood libraries, and just how valuable that is, and the work that you've put into this and what you've outlined. I just really appreciate in thinking about the power of libraries as self-directed places to explore. I remember my oldest child, and she must have only been 8 or 9 maybe when she first did this, but she had figured out how to do interlibrary loan to get books that she wanted. We made the mistake of telling her that we'd go to Disney before she was 10. And we said that when she was 5, and she never forgot it and was getting the most up-to-date tour books to know exactly when to go and what. She held us to it. It was painful on the pocketbook, but that sort of self-directed, finding out what you want to know, and having that support of librarians, again, both inside the school and inside the Enoch Pratt libraries, is just invaluable. And so maybe my only comment and question, I know I brought this up when we were looking at this in policy, but I do think the partnerships that you outlined are incredibly valuable. and would love to see ways that I know in the past there's been more structure. This maybe doesn't need to be in the policy, but just more in the practice. But the structure around helping every student who's a Baltimore City School student also have a library card, and just like how that, whether it's a one card or some sort of thing, could be a practice that just removes any barriers to the fluidity between the libraries that exist for our young people.
And I appreciate that comment, and that is something that we have, that we will continue to investigate.
Also, I don't know, my mic is in the greatest experience. Thank you. So in reflection from committee too, I started thinking about two things. So one, recognizing the vital role. I was thinking back to my time being a teacher here in Baltimore City Public Schools, the vital role that libraries play in supporting educators in extending learning that's happening inside of their classrooms. And so to the extent that we're thinking about the types of supports that we're providing to all of our educators to extend that learning, to build depth and breadth in learning, I think is going to be phenomenal. And secondary, so that was my comment / question too, is thinking about the fact that we have a variety of school models and a variety of ways in which our students engage in learning here in Baltimore City Schools. I'm hoping that you can give us a sense of the types of investments that the system needs to make, whether that's through partnerships or direct investments that better support how our learners experience school. So for our youth who are in alternative placements, who are in virtual placements, who are traditional public schools, who are different ages, I think that would be helpful just to give us a better sense of what we need to think about, especially from our seat here on the board, as you guys are here today.
And that's a great question. And I think that we probably need to do some data digging to get some of that information for you. And then we'll have that for you as a response.
Fantastic. I think that'll give us a better sense of like how over just kind of a period of time we need to think about those investments, and that we share those with our stakeholders so they understand that evolutionary over time, these are the types of ways in which we're investing in our schools, investing in our students, investing in educators across the entire spectrum.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Ms. Davis. I really appreciate all the work that your team has done to
Thank you.
have a very thorough and thoughtful policy. So
Thank you.
Yep. It's Chair Richardson.
Are there any other questions? If not, thank you so much to the staff. Have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to now, we will now hear a presentation from the Office of New Initiatives on the operator renewal process. Good evening. I'm Angela Alvarez. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of New Initiatives, and I'm joined by.
Good evening. I'm Trevor Roberts. I'm a specialist in the Office of New Initiatives.
And I just want to acknowledge Chief Jones and the work of her team in supporting this process. But I'm going to turn it over to Trevor, who's going to walk us through what operator renewal will look like for the upcoming year.
So we're going to be looking at the operator renewal process for the 2023-24 school year. This aligns with Board Priority 6. City schools will increase the number of educational programming of all types and levels throughout the city, while ensuring that all schools, including charters, guarantee a high quality educational experience. So the operator renewal process is our annual evaluation of charter and other operator-led schools to see how they're doing and to provide recommendations to the board on the renewal of contracts for these schools. Some of the key features we like to have in the process is to have a consistent set of metrics from year to year. We hold an annual debriefing process with stakeholders, and any changes that we need to make for one year to the next, we want to make them as narrowly focused as possible to address any challenges that arise in terms of data availability or other things that may come up from one year to the next. In 23-24, we have 3 schools going through renewal: Baltimore International Academy West, Green Street Academy, and KIPP Harmony Academy. We started our debriefing process in April, getting feedback from the Charter and Operator-Led Schools Advisory Board. We then went to school operators themselves, got feedback from them, and to the board's Teaching and Learning Committee in June. And tonight we'll be presenting the final process. The timeline for the process is we will be holding the orientation for those 3 schools at the end of the month. Over the summer, they will be receiving data tables that have their data and ratings for some metrics. They will also be taking this time to work on their application, which will be due on September 7th. And in September and October, the Charter and Operator-Led Schools Advisory Board will be conducting their review of the applications. That advisory board makes a recommendation to the CEO. The CEO conducts an administrative review of the applications as well and presents her recommendations to the board on November 14th at the public board meeting. Over the winter in December or January, we'll be holding an operator work session where the operators of the schools will have an opportunity to get up in front of the board, present about their programs, and to take any questions that the board has. And on January 23rd, the board will be voting on the recommendations. We're going to be looking at individual rubric metrics now. We brought several different issues to the debriefing with our stakeholders. On those issues, we didn't get a real consensus on anything, but what we did consistently hear from school operators is that they valued a consistent process from one year to the next. So the process that we were presenting will have just very limited changes from past years. So starting with the academic section of the rubric, we look at state assessments in 3 different ways: the absolute performance from the most recent year of the MCAP, trend performance, and growth performance. You'll note that we do not have the data available for trend this year because of the switch over to the new state assessment. So we will not be having that as a metric this year, but we will have absolute and growth performance. Next, we will be considering fidelity to charter and the application overall. This is the rating where we look at the totality of a school's application and give them a rating on how they are fulfilling their mission and vision, their contractual requirements, and addressing any challenges that are coming up in the data. For schools that have diverse student bodies, we do look at how they are providing programming for all their student, racial, and ethnic groups. This is both a qualitative look at how schools are choosing curricular materials, presenting instruction to students in different groups to make sure that they are equitably educating all students, and also a look at the data to see how that is playing out in terms of student achievement. For high schools, we look at college and career readiness and the 4-year cohort graduation rate. And finally, we have the 5 Essentials survey in the academic section. We moved the 5 Essentials into the academic section last year. It is a research-backed survey that is predictive of school success in the future. And in this time for the transition to the new state assessment, when we have fewer years of data available, the 5 Essentials gives us another tool to look into how schools are organizing themselves to raise student achievement. I do want to make a note on the absolute performance measure for the state assessments. Historically, we look at mean scale score in a comparative ranking with other schools with similar levels of poverty. For this rating, we are hoping that we will be able to use that method for this year. But I do want to note that last year, when we got our first year of MCAP results back, we did see a lack of differentiation in the mean scale of scores that if we had used the comparative rating, would have come up with ratings that were not reflective of the differences in performance between different schools. So what we were seeing was schools with small differences in mean scale score were sometimes getting very different ratings using that comparative system. So to address that last year, we looked at average student performance level and based our ratings on that. Again, for this year, we are hoping to use the mean scale score as we have in years past, but I do want to make it known that if, again, we see that lack of differentiation in scores, we may, again, use the average performance level. And if when we get the data, we're going to look at that. And if that needs to be a change that we make, we will let schools know as soon as possible. Moving on to the climate section of the rubric, we look at measures from the school effectiveness review. The school effectiveness review is a 2.5-day site visit where reviewers do classroom observations, conduct focus groups, and do a document review. So we look at 3 measures from that review in the climate section. Those are talented people, vision and engagement, and highly effective instruction. We look at the family satisfaction survey, a school's cohort retention, student attendance and chronic absence, and suspensions. Those 2 are, again, a mix of a qualitative review of school practices, as well as how those practices are playing out in the school's data. And finally, we look at effective programming for students with disabilities. And in the financial management and governance section, we have 3 metrics that we look at. We look at a school's audit content and their internal controls, a school's operator capacity, and the strategic leadership metric from the school effectiveness review. And just looking at rubric weights, these are the weights for the academic success portion of the rubric. You'll see that this is broken down by different grade bands, as some of the grade bands have different metrics that we look at. These weights are unchanged from last year. In the school climate, we did make one change. We felt that we needed to raise the weight of the programming for students with disabilities due to the importance of schools' work with this vulnerable student population. So we did raise that up to 20% of this section of the rubric, and that weight came from reducing the weight for the school effectiveness review measures. Finally, we have the audit or the financial management and governance section. Again, these weights are unchanged from previous years. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Commissioner Sally.
Yep. So my question is, if a school is identified for support and improvement this upcoming year, the summer, how does this figure into what we just discussed as far as the academic improvement, or the academic achievement measure here?
Good evening, commissioners and members of the public. I'm Teresa Jones, Chief Achievement and Accountability Officer. At this point, we have not factored in any specific requirements that would relate to a designation of a CSI or TSI school. So it's not reflected explicitly in this process. However, there is an inclusion of a lot of the same metrics that are used for the accountability system that are part of the operator renewal process as well. I'll also just note that with students with disabilities, even in the first identifications around CSI, TSI schools, the school system experienced a large number of schools being identified based on how students with disabilities were performing. So that in some ways has increased our level of interest in making sure that that is adequately rated within this overall process. So that is also one of the reasons that we thought increasing the weight for that particular student group and that metric would be appropriate.
So I think it's critically important from a transparency standpoint is if a school is identified for support improvement, that is clearly articulated for not only board members, but for the members of the public to understand that that is something that has occurred. I know that that data often is lacking, but we also need to highlight for the reasons that you just raised there, which is it a subgroup? Are they rated for CSI low performance? Is it graduation rates? Like what is it exactly that they're rated or identified for support improvement? Just so that we are all kind of critically aware. And also the work that those particular schools need to do being addressed to get them out of status also needs to be brought to light. So those are things I'm going to be looking for in particular upcoming this school year if a school is rated in those ways.
Commissioner Roberts.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair McFadden. This is more of, and I'm flushing this thought as I say it, but I know during our portfolio overview season specifically, and mainly in times where there is a school closure discussion on the table, we as a body are always questioned about our evaluation of charter schools in comparison to our evaluation of traditional schools. And that bubbles up for me here because I don't know that we always explicitly show that all of the variables that go into that we're required to do for charter schools, and how we do that in fidelity and in totality with traditional schools as well. I think I would like to circle back to this. I would love to see a presentation just in specificity around that in the upcoming school year, because that continuously is a speaking point around how the evaluation doesn't seem fair towards this particular population of schools and how that lends itself to our evaluation of traditional schools.
Yeah, I just want to repeat back. You're saying the criticism that you hear, sorry, is that, because I've heard it the other way, so I just wanted to be clear about what you're hearing. The criticism that you hear is that we're unfair to charter schools and how we evaluate them.
I'm hearing that we don't evaluate our traditional schools in the same way that we do for charter. That we are more rigid, more thorough in the assessment of charter schools, which loosely, not my words, but it's not fair for the type of evaluation that we offer of charter schools. And that's in considering the statute and all the variables that we legally have to do. But I don't know that the larger community understands or sees, quite frankly, the evaluation that happens for traditional schools as well.
Yeah. So yeah, we can circle back. One thing I just want to be clear, just for members of the public, all of the evaluation components for both schools are posted on the district website. They actually link to the same page on annual review. So you can see the report for any schools that were up for annual review, as well as for operator renewal. So just naming that. And then also just transparently for members of the public, our relationship with charter schools is different than our relationship with traditional schools. By state law and by board policy, operators are coming to us and saying, in exchange for being able to have certain level of autonomy, we are going to improve student outcomes by doing these unique things. And so the standard for charter schools is higher. They have to actually demonstrate that they are actually significantly improving student outcomes. So it's a harsher standard, but it's because we're giving them millions of dollars of public funds. right? That they are managing on their own for the most part. And so in exchange for that, they really have to be delivering improved academics for students. And that's the standard in the law itself and in our policy.
No, I appreciate that. As a commissioner that has a very controversial perspective, opinion on a number of matters as it relates to renewal season, I appreciate that. I just wanted to lift that. I know that our larger community, they don't particularly have a full understanding of just that point.
It's interesting because if you look at a recent report on charter school performance, I would argue that yes, we have large numbers of very successful charter schools, but some of that performance, some of that high performance, because Maryland was stated, right, in the Credo report as our charter schools outperforming our traditional schools, right? And it was used nationally. I've talked to both Allison and Angela about this, and to this point of communication. And I would argue that part of why that is true in Maryland, given we have the overwhelming majority of charter schools in Baltimore City, is because we closed low performing charters. If we kept lower performing charters open, frankly, the average performance would be at the same or lower than district performance. So we are the authorizer, right? We set the standard. And I would agree with you that we have to rethink and freshen up our communication around that, because, you know, it was understood, and for people who've been working with it a long time, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, but they're supposed to outperform and da da. But to your point, which I think is an excellent one, that is not common knowledge. And, you know, like I said, I was kind of irritated personally, to be honest with you, reading the Credo report that was like bragging about pushing how Maryland's charters, all but a handful are in Baltimore City, are outperforming. And, you know, I know what the data was before this board was willing to not authorize low performing charters. And I think that it's a tension point. I mean, because we could leave them open and then our data looks much better. Their overall data looks, frankly, the same as district level data, district traditional school data, or worse in some cases, because let's be clear, this board, last 7 years with this CEO and this administration, continued a pattern of closing, you know, not reauthorizing a number of low performing charters. We won because of the great work of this team when it was appealed at the state level. If we were closer to the state of Michigan that has 1,000 flowers bloom approach, and we don't care if it's a low quality school, then it would actually make us look much better. But I think that this piece also pushes on kind of what is the school improvement strategy for our lower performing, you know, non-charter schools or traditional schools. So there's a lot wrapped up in it. And I appreciate the complexity of the question, and I think it's the right question. And I agree with your observation that we have not refreshened our communication around that, because, you know, a lot of it is we're focused. I mean, even though we bicker with our charters, and, you know, I like to win as much as anybody else, they're still part of our district, right? We still do not take an oppositional district position on charters. Like, that's why most of them are here. So, you know, like any family, you bicker, and there's some family members I don't want coming to my Thanksgiving dinner, but we're family nonetheless. And so there is that piece that we've got to resolve. And I think your commentary is timely, and I think gives us something to think about.
My mic is no longer, it's just say it
So after
slowly.
you, Commissioner Sally will go to Commissioner
Oh, I'm so sorry. Did I take it? So yeah, I think Dr. Santaluces, I think you bring up a really important point that I think the public has to recognize is that when the unique role that city schools is in as a charter authorizer is very different than a way a lot of other states operate that are not putting their LEAs in that particular position. So we have a different set of responsibilities around the governance, around the way in which those schools are performing versus just only solely looking at our schools. So we're in a place of having to look at a kind of dual set of model, but an extra level of kind of complexity around ensuring that those schools are really performing. So I just think the public, we all have to think about that in relationship to this work.
Thank you for putting this together. And my question is sort of thinking out loud about something that I am not seeing here. I don't know if it should be in this exactly. And I recognize that, well, I'll sort of say what I'm thinking and then sort of recognize some of the pieces. When there is a conditional renewal, where and how do we, I guess, look at those conditions? Because there are some that are pretty strict, and I guess my sort of caveat there is I don't want those schools to then be underneath a renewal every year, right? Like that's not they're given multiple years, but some of those conditions are such that if they aren't meeting them, we said, those don't then go through the full cycle. And so I guess my question is, as we contemplate those that have conditional renewals previously, is there a place, or what is the place where that is considered and brought to the board in a thoughtful and messaged way, right? That it's a predictable way that it's done.
Yeah. So for schools that have conditions, we monitor those conditions throughout the year. We meet with them, depending on the conditions. Some schools, if you think about the last cycle, have heavier conditions than others. And so those with heavy conditions, we meet more frequently with to check in on progress. Those with lighter conditions, we might just check in once or twice throughout the year, but just making sure things are on track. In terms of specifically the conditions themselves. If they're moving forward, we can make sure, I think we've always done a good job of updating the board in terms of where they are on the conditions, so we can make sure that we do that at the end of a year, just so you know what's happening, what's happened with the meetings, where they are. But we provide all of that to you when schools come up for, if they make it to renewal, when they come up for renewal, what's happening with that. If there's schools who are seriously not meeting their conditions, just so we're super clear, and it's serious enough, we could begin a revocation process, which is a contract, ending the contract before the term is out. If we were to begin a revocation process, the policy lays out, it's a process, so you have to, put them on notice about what the issues are. They get a chance to respond, to cure, and then it would come back to you for a vote and approval. So it has its own sort of process. Those are very rare. I've not had to bring a revocation before the board in my time in the office, but it does exist. It's laid out in the contract. It's laid out in board policy, how that process works.
Yeah, and maybe the thing that might be of value, to consider is sort of stating when in that year, kind of end of year process, where you would say back to the board, all of these conditions haven't met this year, or just messaging that in a way that it doesn't, in the moment, in the school year, feel like it's, it hasn't been messaged that is very real. Like we said that, but I think, sticking to that, I guess, is the
making sure we're updating you. I provide updates to Dr. Santaluces. On the administrative side, we're managing that, But I think that's fair to make sure as a board, because you put those conditions, that we're also giving you at least annual updates on what's happening. Yep,
I
absolutely.
really want to underscore that, especially what we all had to experience this year, where we were split down the middle, right? And that was a really difficult decision that we ended up supporting you all with some changes to the conditions. But how do we know that we made the right call? So coming back to the board, I don't know if that's a policy or just a practice, but it should be codified somewhere that the board gets to be informed as to how did we do with that one, right? How did that turn out for us? So anyway, I appreciate that. Are there any other questions?
Just very briefly. So like in concert with that, I think in that update, the milestones, I think it's really helpful for us to know on the board is where do we see the things that you're looking for improvement. So for example, if they're identified for poor academic performance, like what are the measures you guys are looking for? What have you seen? What have you not seen? So that when we're getting closer to later in the cycle, it isn't that. But like, I think that provides a little bit more transparency to the public of the types of things that you're looking for with those schools, the evidence that you're looking for. So for example, like there should be some things inside of school improvement plans that you're looking at X, Y, Z. I don't know for sure, but those things are really, really helpful for us to kind of have a greater set of knowledge so that we can feel confident in the types of decisions that we have to make later in the cycle. Thank you.
Thank you to the staff. Thank you for hanging out with us this late. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
That's our last presentation for the night. I want to give a notice of our upcoming meetings. So our Operations Committee meeting will be held Tuesday, June 20th at 10:30 a.m. That is a virtual meeting. Our Policy Committee meeting is going to be held on the same day, Tuesday the 20th at 4 p.m. That is also a virtual meeting. We will have a special board public meeting on Tuesday, June 27th at 3 p.m. That also will be virtual. There will be a special public board meeting on July the 11th at 3 p.m. Also, July 11th at 9:30. I'm sorry, let me fix that. 9:30 a.m. Also virtual, correct? Okay. July 11th at 9:30 a.m. Virtual meeting. There will be an executive session meeting on July 25th at 3 p.m. and then a public board meeting same day at 5 p.m. And then our Teaching and Learning Committee will meet virtually on Tuesday, September the 5th. Man, y'all took it out really far. All the way into September. Okay, at 3:30 p.m. It's time to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I just want to mention it's in our time to say goodbye and thank you.
We're not saying goodbye yet.
I technically have to open up a special virtual meeting on the 20th.
The way you did say y'all are scheduling way out in the future, that did feel like you're you're not going to be here in September with us.
So you guys are going to see me, not in this seat, but I do want to support the work of this board. And the mayor knows he's done enough graduations where I've been able to whisper in his ear, like, that he's recruiting again. So, but yeah, I wanted, since this was my last, one of these kinds of meetings, I wanted to make that clear. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So me, have me as a second.
Speedy Gonzalez. Okay, I will take Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second? Commissioner Sally, all in favor?
Yes.
Commissioner McFadden. Commissioner Coy.
Yes.
Commissioner, I think Esposito's joined us. Commissioner Esposito? Do y'all hear?
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, now we can.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Commissioner
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Sally,
Yes.
and I am in favor. Does that motion go? This is the first time I have ever used this in 2 years. We are now adjourned.
Yeah.
Yay.